In this tutorial, we'll be creating a simple chain reaction within the Oculus Quest. My idea is that I want my user to tap on a button and grow flowers in a chain reaction. Before we get started, just a quick breakdown. First, I need to import the assets I'll be using. Then, I'll set up my scene and place everything how I want it to look. As I import my assets, I'll change their names to quickly identify them later. I'll be playing with the delay times. Then, I'll apply actions and triggers to my assets. And finally, throughout the process, I'll be previewing my scene to make sure everything is working as I intended. I'd like to note that this is one way to do this, and as you explore Byldr, I'm sure you'll come up with your own versions of chain reactions and maybe include animations, user interactions, and all sorts of creative variations. So let's set up our scene. I'll be starting out in the empty loft environment. I'll be using a few 3D assets for this project: a primitive shape for my base, a flower pot, and a flower. Just remember, the idea is essentially the same, even if we were just to use primitive shapes throughout the tutorial. First, let's import the base. I'll go into my project menu in my left hand, and I'll tap on Create. Then, I'll select my cylinder shape and bring it into the scene. I'll head into Settings, and I'll select Transform. At the bottom, I want to change my X, Y, and Z values from 1 to 0.5, 0.6, and 0.5. In the colors, I'm going to add a marble material. Next, I want 5 flower units. So for me, that means I'll need 5 bases. With my cylinder asset selected, in my Objects option, I'm going to tap on Clone, and then drag the copy and place it where I want. I'm going to make 4 more copies and place them in a line horizontally. For no specific reason, I just wanted it to look this way. Now, I'll go ahead and import my pot and flowers through the project menu. I'll speed up this spot a little because I'm setting up my scene to how I want each flower to appear in size and position, and the number of flowers in each pot. And once again, this was just my preference. Now, I also wanted to change the names of my assets so that I could easily identify them later when I needed to access them through the Triggers menu or through the Hierarchy menu. Now, I'll be importing my button, which you can trade off for a primitive cube or sphere if needed. On the top of my button, I wanted to add some text to let my user know what the button did. An important note when using text boxes: if you find that you can't bring back the keyboard to edit the text box because you accidentally tapped on something else, go to your project menu and tap on Hierarchy. Then hover over the items until the pink guideline appears and points to your text. Select it with the plus sign, and the blue text box should appear again. Let's enable some actions. Now, for every item that you want to start off invisible, tap on it, in my case it's a flower, and go to Settings. Inside Object Settings, you should see this menu. Toggle Starts Invisible on. Do it for all the items that you want to start off invisible. Next, we need to define our action. Remember, actions enable your objects to do things. In our case, our asset's action will be to appear or disappear. So, with your chosen items selected, you should see the Object Options menu around you. Select the Actions button. Then, look for and select Hide or Show. Toggle the Enabled switch to On. Do this for every item that will appear or disappear. Let's enable triggers to hide and show these flowers. With your button asset selected, in your Object Options menu, select Triggers. In your Triggers menu, find and select Press. The Triggers menu should open. In the Build Objects panel, begin adding in your assets. If you've renamed your assets before, it should be easier to identify them now. But even if you didn't, you still have the pink guideline to show you which object you're referencing to. Select the first asset. The Available Actions menu should appear. Select the plus icon. The Action Settings menu should appear. Toggle Enabled on. We won't touch the delay timer for the first asset, but I'll increase the timer by 0.5 increments for every asset I continue adding. Do the same for the next assets. And there you have it, a simple chain reaction using different assets and the delay timer in Byldr. In our next tutorial, we'll go over how to import audio files.